Hey guys, my name is Emily, if you haven't seen my face before, and today I'm going to be making a video talking about all of the manga that I read in 2024. So I have a full year's worth of manga that I've read, and I have some manhwa as well to talk about. I do end up reading most of the manga that I'm reading digitally, but sometimes I get lucky and I find some stuff that I want at the library. So those are the two ways that I get my manga content in. I also want to preface this by saying that there's going to be a lot of manga in this video that I know are super popular that I decided to not continue with because it just wasn't for me. And there might be some volumes that I'm talking about that I really like that just weren't for you, and that's totally okay. Everyone has different preferences. Before we get into the manga that I read last year, I do have two manhwa that I am up to date with that I want to talk about first, with the first one being The Remarried Empress. The Remarried Empress is definitely a very popular pick, but if you haven't heard about it, it's about an empress who has been training all her life to become empress. She gets married to her childhood friend who is the emperor, and then after a little bit of their marriage, he decides to get a divorce and takes up a mistress, and she finds herself being involved in a different relationship. And there are a little bit of magical elements in the story, but it's definitely not the main focus. Drama is definitely one of my favorite things to read about, so there's lots of that here. It's pretty messy, so if you are looking for something that has lots of drama, some romance, and some royalty kingdomy stuff, I think this one would be a good one to check out. The other manhwa that I read this year is Men of the Harem, which is by the same creator, I think, as The Remarried Empress. This one I didn't think I would like as much as The Remarried Empress, but I actually ended up liking it more. I'm also up to date on this one. So we follow a woman who has gotten her heart broken by a man who became emperor and took up a different wife. So she ends up, because of her family ties, becoming emperor of a different kingdom. And then she decides to take up a harem of men for a few different reasons that I'm not going to get into for spoiler reasons, but she has a harem of a few different men, and each of them have different reasons for wanting to enter the harem as well. And this one might seem a little bit similar if you haven't read either of them because of the royalty elements and the romance and the drama. They are very different stories though, and there is a lot more of the magical elements and fantasy in the story. It's definitely more front and center than The Remarried Empress. So if you like romance, but you also want more of that, then maybe this one would be a good one for you. I'm really into it, and I can't wait for each chapter to get released. At least give it a chance and see what you think of it. But those are the two manhwa anyway that I've read. Now let's get into the manga that I read in 2024. First up, I have Mint Chocolate, specifically volumes 10, 11, and 12. This is a series that I started last year, and I've just been keeping up to date with it as I get access to it. The story follows two high school students who end up becoming step siblings, and then there's feelings, and then there's mess, and there's drama, and there's romance. I know this one is kind of iffy for some people because of the whole step sibling thing, but they didn't grow up together. They only became step siblings in high school. They already knew each other before, and they already had some feelings going on. So if that changes things for you, then maybe give this one a chance. I am enjoying this one, and I will keep up to date with it as it comes out. Next, I read volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Something Is Wrong With Us. Something's Wrong With Us is definitely more of a mystery that involves a young woman who, as a child, was at a bakery a lot with her mom, who worked at the bakery, I'm pretty sure. And then her mom got arrested for a crime that she supposedly didn't do because of the son of the guy who owned the bakery, I think, who was the same age as our protagonist. And then years later, she ends up getting involved with him again and is trying to figure out what happened, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So this one is one that is also very popular, and I've heard lots of really good things about it, so I was really eager to try it, but unfortunately I put it down after volume 3. I DNF'd it, and I will not be continuing it just because I couldn't get into it. I was expecting so much from this because of all the great things I heard about it, and I love thrillery stuff and mysteries and trying to figure out the plot twists and all that, but this one just didn't do it for me, so unfortunately I won't be continuing with this one. But if you guys want to give it a try, go ahead. The next series I started was Play It Cool Guys. I read volumes 1 to 4 of this, and it follows a group of guys who are different ages. Some are high school, I think, and then university and working, so they're not all the same age. And they're all a little bit clumsy and awkward, even though people think they're really cool, and they somehow become friends with each other. And it's about the shenanigans that goes on in their life. This one is really charming, and it's actually really cute, and I really like the characters. It's not too deep or anything, at least not yet. It's very much more of a casual, lighthearted kind of vibe, and I'm up for that sometimes, so that's definitely something that I'm going to keep reading as well. and I'm looking forward to continuing that series. I also watched the anime for that series, and I'm a fan of it. I love the colors, I love how the characters look, and it's a vibe. Next, I have Rent a Girlfriend, and I read volumes 1 to 19 of this one. This is definitely a little bit different from a lot of the other things that I've read. It follows a guy who recently got dumped by his girlfriend. He's in college, he's feeling down about himself, and then he ends up finding a Rent-A-Girlfriend service, which is basically where you pay for a girl to go on a date with you, and then he thinks the girl's going to be really stuck up and uptight, but she's actually really down to earth, and he gets involved with her, and then there's a bunch of drama ensuing about having to have this relationship continue, although it's not a genuine relationship. And obviously I enjoyed it because I stuck it out with 19 volumes, and I watched the anime for this one as well. I think this one is shonen, and it's the only one that's that kind of vibe in everything that I've read last year. It's definitely not for everybody. I got into it. I didn't think I would, but I did. So if there's something in there that sounds appealing to you, maybe give it a shot and you might like it. The next series that I read and finished is The Golden Sheep. This is only a 3-volume series, so it's pretty quick, and it's about a girl who ended up moving away from her hometown, and after a few years she ends up coming back to find that her childhood group of friends, their whole dynamic has completely changed, and everyone is trying to figure themselves out and where they fit in now that they're older and that times have changed a little bit. And I don't want to say too much because this is such a short series, but this one is pretty impactful. I really, really like this. This had me crying in volume 1, and I just got really invested in this story very, very quickly, which I really liked about this one. So if you're looking for something that's kind of slice of life, coming of age maybe, but also pretty quick to get into, this one is definitely one that I recommend though, for sure, especially since it is so quick. So you can finish it pretty quickly and easily and then move on to the next. Next up, I read The Summer Hikaru Died. I might butcher some of these names, by the way, because I'm definitely very English, but I read volumes 1 and 2 of this, and this is definitely a little bit outside of my comfort zone because it is more on the horror-ish realm of things. It follows a young boy, I think he's in high school, and his best friend, Hikaru, and after a little bit of time, he realizes that Hikaru seems a little bit off and a little bit different, and he confronts Hikaru about this, and it turns out that Hikaru might not actually be Hikaru, and I will leave it at that. But this one was very unsettling. There's definitely things in here that made me uncomfortable and just very unsettled, but I kept going back for more, and I really want to know what's going to happen. And I have heard also that this one is supposed to get an anime, I think this year, 2025, so I'm definitely going to watch that. And I'm going to keep up with this one as well. Then I finished Orange and Orange Future. Orange, I think, has 7 volumes, and I think Orange Future is just 1. I could be wrong, though. This one follows a girl in high school who gets a letter from her future self that is telling her about things that she wishes she did differently and regrets she has, that she wants the current version of herself to change and fix, to change her life in some ways that I won't get into for spoilers, obviously. But this one was really, really good. I love this one. I also watched the anime with this as well. And it's really emotional. There's definitely some emotional scenes in there that had me crying. I really like the characters. I was rooting for probably, I want to say, the underdog in the series. If you're looking for something to tug at your heartstrings, then maybe give this one a try. After Orange, I was feeling like I needed something that wouldn't rip my heart out so much. So I started QQ Sweeper. I finished it. It was volumes 1 through 3, also a short series, but this one is kind of like a prequel to Queen's Quality, which is a longer series. So this one follows a group of people who are like cleaners. They're kind of janitory people. They clean stuff, but also there's some supernatural kind of elements where they also clean inside people's hearts to get out impurities. And this one I was excited for, again, kind of like Something's Wrong with Us, because I heard so many good things about it. But unfortunately, I didn't really like it that much. I finished QQ Sweeper, but I won't be continuing with Queen's Quality. It might be different, it might be better, but I honestly just didn't really care for the romance. I didn't really care for the characters. This one just wasn't for me though, so I kept moving along, and I read Imakoi. I read volumes 1 through 9, which was the complete series, and this one was pretty good. This one follows a young couple in high school who starts dating in volume 1. The girl just blurts out that she has feelings for this guy, and he doesn't really have feelings for her at this point, but he just agrees to try it out. So they start in volume 1 already in a relationship. And the rest of the series is them figuring out the relationship as well as some other characters going through some things. So this one is a little bit different from a lot of other shoujo manga I've read, because most stories are like this big build-up of developing feelings, realizing feelings, and then entering a relationship. But you already get that relationship starting in volume 1. So it's a little bit of a different vibe. It's a different approach, but I liked it. I really liked the characters. I also really liked the side couple as well, which doesn't happen that often for me. I enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend this one. After this one, I was ready for some more emotion, so I started A Silent Voice. I read volumes 1 and 2. This one follows a guy at first who's in elementary school, and he is picking on this girl who's deaf. He makes her the target of bullying. Everyone is bullying her, and then she ends up changing out of the school. So he then becomes the next target of bullying. He is picked on a lot and his life gets really tough. And then later on in high school, he ends up running into the same girl again. And then things kind of go from there as he's trying to make amends with her. And in this one, like I said, I only got to volume 2, and I don't think I'm going to be continuing this one either. Honestly, I have heard so many good things about this one as well. I feel like I've heard so many good things about everything that I've read that I've decided to DNF. During the school year, I don't have that much time to read everything, and I really want to spend my time focusing on the stuff that I really, really like. So this one just didn't make the cut for me, unfortunately. I didn't really vibe with the characters that much. So this one was a pass for me, but I know lots of people love it. So maybe give it a shot anyway. After A Silent Voice didn't work out for me, I discovered the villainess genre, if you want to call it a genre, I guess you could say. And I started that with one with a very long title. I was reincarnated as the villainess in an otome game, but the boys love me anyways. This one is so good. This follows a girl who is obviously reincarnated into an otome game that she has played in real life. And she is the villainess. She knows that she's going to have a lot of bad ends. So she's trying to avoid the situations that will get her thrown into these bad ends. All the boys are falling in love with her. Things are not going the way that they are supposed to go. They're not following the plot. No one really cares about the heroine. They're just really into her. And this one was really, really good. Like I said, I read volumes 1 to 4, and I'm definitely going to continue this one this year. As more comes out, hopefully, I will eat it up because I loved the series so much. On a more emotional note, after reading such a fun love story-ish kind of vibe, I moved on to Love Sky, and I finished volumes 1 through 10, which is the complete series. And this one is a heavy hitter. I haven't heard too many people talking about Love Sky on YouTube, but obviously someone did, because that's how I got recommended this series. I'm so grateful for whoever it was that talked about this, because I loved this one. This one got me so in my feelings. I cried so hard. This is the one that has gotten me the most emotional out of everything that I read last year. It follows a girl named Mika who gets involved with kind of one of the bad guys in school, which seems like a really stereotypical trope. And that's kind of what I thought whenever I started the series, but trust me, it's a lot more than that. There may be a lot of things in this series though that will be triggering for people. So if you are someone who can't just jump into a story because something might really upset you, this is definitely one that I would recommend checking trigger warnings, because there's a lot of stuff in here that is heavy and tough. So if that's something that you're okay with handling, this one is a must read for sure. Then I jumped into Love Sick Ellie. I read volumes 1 and 2, and this one follows a high school girl named Ellie who has this Twitter account that she posts on all the time about these really detailed fantasies she has, particularly around the guy who's like really popular and loved by a lot of girls in school. This guy seems super nice and everyone really likes him, but she ends up discovering that he may not be exactly who he seems to be as she gets to know him more. And this one, I will also be DNFing. I know, I wish I could like this one as much as other people did. I was really excited for this one too, because I like the idea of, oh, there's this girl who has this Twitter account and no one knows who it is, and it's going to be this big dramatic reveal when the guy finds out who she is. But this happened like that really early on. There was no build-up, so that kind of let me down, and I just couldn't really get into the characters. I don't know, something was missing from this for me, so this one I won't be continuing with. But again, lots of people like it, so take with that what you will. I decided then to continue into the villainess genre with I'm the villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. This one I only read the first volume of, and I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't as good, I guess, as the other villainous manga that I had read earlier on in the year. It does have similarities though, because we do still follow obviously a girl who is reincarnated into a game and is trying to avoid her bad end because she is the villainess. But in this game, most of her bad ends, if not all, are because of ultimately the demon king in this world ends up killing her or ends up doing something to her that she wants to avoid. So in order to avoid her bad end, instead of getting involved with the love interest, she decides to make the demon king fall for her. This one just didn't hit the same for me. I think the things that I love so much about that first one were just not here in this one. But it wasn't bad. It just wasn't really what I was looking for at the time that I picked this up. Maybe I'll give it another chance at some point, but I don't know. For now, this one just isn't really going to be on my list anymore to continue, but I might change my mind. I don't know. We'll see. Then I read Love in Focus. This is a 3-volume series that I also finished completely. This one follows a girl who joins a boarding house that's focused on photography, and she ends up joining this house that her childhood friend is also living in, and then she gets really interested in this guy who seems really mysterious and captivating, who also lives in this boarding house. So it is kind of like a love triangle. I actually really like the first volume of this one, and it just kind of went slowly into a meh territory for me. I think it was a little bit just generic with the love triangle, the way that it was approached, but the characters were still kind of interesting. I didn't think it was boring or anything. It just wasn't as enjoyable to me as some of the other stuff that I read. I did really like the art style though, and it captivated me enough that I decided to try something else by the same creator. So I tried Those Not So Sweet Boys. I read volume 1 and 2 of this one, and this one follows a young girl who, I always say it's a young girl, but most of these stories follow high school girls. So this one is a girl who ends up getting her wallet taken, and it gets saved by one of the guys in this rebel group. I guess people think of them as kind of the bad boys in school, the rebellious ones. One of them saves her wallet, gives it back to her, and then shortly after that, she gets caught by the chairman, I think, not the principal of the school, but she gets caught as someone who is having a job, which is not allowed in this school. So in order to make up for this infraction that she's made by having a job, she gets tasked with bringing these boys back to school because this group of boys has stopped showing up to school and she needs to get them back. I was initially drawn to this, but the same kind of thing happened where I just felt like it was average. It didn't really stick out to me as anything that was new or exciting or really different from anything I've read before. So I just stopped this one after volume 2, and I won't be continuing this one. Kind of in the same category as Those Not So Sweet Boys, I then read Honey and Clover, volumes 1 through 3. And this one is a bit of an older series. The art style is definitely different from stuff that is coming out now. And this one follows a group of college students, and very much just them trying to figure out who they are, what they want to do, and just navigating everyday stuff. It was something that I felt like I was kind of making myself read. I was just trying to push through it, and I don't really like that feeling whenever I'm reading manga. I really want to enjoy it, like I was saying before. This one was also a DNF. Then I decided to try another villainess manga, and the next one I tried was Cross-Dressing Villainess Cecilia Sylvie, and this one is a love. I really, really like this one. So similar to the other two villainess manga, we have our villainess who's been reincarnated. She's trying to avoid her bad endings. This one though has more magical elements, and there's some fantasy things going on, and Cecilia is trying to avoid her fate by cross-dressing so that she doesn't have to deal with the consequences that the villainess would get thrown into in terms of like the magical world that's going on. So she's cross-dressing and she becomes this really popular guy at school, and then some people end up figuring it out, and we go from there. This one is also different from The Boys Love Me Anyway villainess manga, because all of the boys aren't just immediately in love with her. There is still romance going on, but it isn't as in your face, everybody's in love with her kind of thing as that other one was. I'm not sure which ones I like more. I just really love both of them. So if you're looking for a villainess manga to try and you haven't tried either of those, definitely try them because they are my faves. The second last series that I started in 2024 is Sakura Saku. Sakura Saku follows Saku, who faints on a train and ends up in a hospital. When she wakes up, she finds the name of the guy who supposedly saved her on this train. And then feeling so grateful that she got saved on this train, she decides to kind of change her outlook on life and really tries to put more effort into helping people and just being nice to everybody. And then she hears the name of this guy who saved her on the train, and she gets really excited, and the story kind of goes from there. So Sakura Saku is by the same mangaka that created Aoharu Ride, Strobe Edge. There's a couple more, and I really like her series most of the time, and this one is no different. I really like this one. I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. And I love her art style. I just love the romance. There's some drama as always. If you're looking for something like that, then this one is relatively new. It's ongoing, so you can keep up with it. And it's not too far into the series that you can't catch up. So maybe check this one out. And the last manga series I've read in 2024 with a total of 17 volumes is Lovely Complex. This series, oh my goodness. This series is about a guy and a girl in high school. The guy is pretty short, the girl is pretty tall, and everyone laughs at them and makes fun of them because they seem like a comedy duo since they're always bickering with each other, they're always fighting with each other. And the people that they both have feelings for end up dating each other. And then the story kind of goes from there because then they're kind of put in the situation where they're around each other more. I actually watched the anime series to this one years ago whenever I was in high school, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really funny. And I'm really happy I ended up reading this because I had not read it before, and this one had me laughing all the time. I was laughing out loud so much throughout the series, which some series, yeah, I got like a little bit of a laugh here and there, but this one, every volume had me laughing pretty much. So it was really, really enjoyable. It was really cute. I love the characters in this one. They're so, so good. They're so funny. They're so cute. Oh my gosh, I love the series so much. I haven't really heard too many people talk about Lovely Complex anymore because it definitely was more popular a few years ago back in the day, but definitely give it a shot if you haven't yet and you are looking for something that will give you a good laugh, because that one definitely did it for me for sure. Alright guys, so that is all of the manga and the 2 manhwa that I read in 2024. Let me know down below if you guys have any recommendations of something that you think I might like to try, or if there's anything you really loved reading in 2024 that you just want to share. I'm definitely open to that too. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to, you can go ahead and leave a like, a comment, or subscribe if you want, and I will see you next time. Thanks guys. Bye. God bless.